There is a man sitting across from you at a dinner table. He is wearing a plain white shirt, simple trousers, and on his wrist is a watch that looks almost boring. No diamonds, no oversized case, no flashy logo screaming for attention. But everyone in that room who knows anything knows exactly who he is. That watch said everything, and he never had to say a word. This is not a video about watches. It is a video about a code.
A silent language that has been passed down through generations of old money families. And once you understand it, you will never look at a wealthy person's wrist the same way again. Let us start with something that most people get completely wrong.
When someone comes into new money, the first thing they want is to show it. A big house, a loud car, and a watch that costs as much as a small apartment. It catches eyes. It turns heads. It says, "Look at me. I have arrived." And that is exactly the problem, because old money never announces its arrival. It was already there. Generations of truly wealthy families were taught one thing above everything else. Attention is a liability. When you flash your wealth, you invite envy, you invite enemies, and worst of all, you invite people who want something from you. Old money learned this lesson the hard way. Through revolutions, through wars, through entire dynasties that collapsed because they were too visible. Staying quiet was not modesty, it was survival. And the watch became the perfect symbol of that philosophy. Think about what a watch actually is. It is the one accessory a man almost always wears. It sits on your wrist every single day, through every meeting, every dinner, every handshake. It is seen by more people than almost anything else you own. So what you choose to put on that wrist is not an accident. It is a statement. And old money understood that the loudest statement you can make is silence. Now, here is something that will completely shift the way you think about this. The watches that old money gravitates toward, Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, Lange and Söhne, they are not chosen because they are the most expensive. In fact, if you walked into a room and put a diamond-encrusted watch next to a simple steel Patek Philippe Calatrava, most people would point to the diamonds. But every old money person in that room would quietly look at the Patek and know. That is the entire point. These watches are coded for insiders. Patek Philippe has been making watches since 1839. Their movements, the tiny mechanical engines inside the case, are so precisely crafted that a single watch can take years to complete. There are watchmakers who spend their entire careers perfecting one single component. And when you hold a Patek, you are not holding a product. You are holding the accumulated skill of hundreds of human hands across generations. Old money does not buy things. They acquire meaning. And then there is the inheritance factor. This changes everything. Patek Philippe built their entire identity around one idea, expressed in their most famous advertising line. You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation. That sentence is not marketing. That is a philosophy. When an old money patriarch passes down a watch to his son or daughter, he is not giving them a timepiece. He is giving them a piece of the family's story. That watch was on his wrist when he closed the deal that changed everything. It was there at every important moment of his life. Now, it is on your wrist. Carry it well. New money buys things for status. Old money keeps things for legacy. That single difference explains almost everything about how generational wealth behaves. Now let us talk about something even deeper, because this is where the psychology gets fascinating. Old money families raise their children with a very specific relationship with time. Not just the time on the watch, but the concept of time itself. New money thinks in quarters, in years, in trends. Old money thinks in decades and generations. They make decisions today that are designed for someone who has not been born yet. That is a completely different relationship with time. And so the watch on their wrist is not just keeping time, it is representing time. It is a physical reminder that you are part of something bigger than yourself, that started before you and will continue long after you. This is why they do not chase the newest model. They don't care about the latest release or the hottest collaboration. While the rest of the world is refreshing watch blogs and waiting in line for limited editions, old money is wearing the same reference their grandfather wore. And they are perfectly content because they are not collecting moments, they are building a lineage. There is also something deeply practical about this that nobody talks about.
The watches that old money chooses hold their value in a way almost nothing else does. A Patek Philippe purchased decades ago is often worth multiples of its original price today. These are not just emotional assets, they are financial ones. Old money understood this before the watch market became a global investment conversation. They were not buying watches as investments consciously. They were simply choosing quality so profound that value preservation was a natural consequence.
And here is something that will change the way you see luxury entirely. The most expensive watches in the world are not the most complicated. They are not the biggest or the most adorned. The most valuable watches in the world are the ones that look the simplest, because achieving simplicity at that level of precision is the hardest thing of all. A plain white dial with two hands on a Patek or a Lange requires engineering so extraordinary that it makes complication look easy.
Old money gravitates towards simplicity, not because they cannot afford complexity. They do it because they understand that true mastery looks effortless, and effortlessness is the ultimate signal of old money. Now consider how this applies beyond watches, because it does. Old money does not wear logos. They do not drive cars that announce themselves. They do not build houses that scream wealth from the street. Everything they own was chosen for craftsmanship, for heritage, for quiet excellence. The watch is just the most visible expression of an entire value system. Once you understand the watch, you start to see that system everywhere. There is a reason why the true elite never look like they are trying. It is because they have been taught from childhood that trying is for people who have something to prove, and old money has nothing to prove. Their position was established before they were born. They do not need your validation. They do not need anyone's. There was a story once told about a young heir who came home wearing a flashy new watch he had bought with his first large sum of money. His grandfather looked at it, said nothing, and the next morning quietly placed his own simple, worn Patek Philippe on the breakfast table. He said only this: "A gentleman's watch should be noticed only by those who deserve to notice it." Then he went back to his newspaper. The young man sold his flashy watch that same week. That story carries something important. It is not about being secretive or cold. It is about understanding that real confidence does not need an audience. The people who matter will always recognize quality, and the people who need to be impressed by noise were never your people to begin with. So the next time you sit across from someone at a dinner table and you notice a simple, almost boring watch on their wrist, look a little closer. Notice the case shape, the dial, the way it sits quietly against their skin without demanding anything from you, because that watch is not just telling time. It is telling you everything you need to know about the person wearing it. And they knew that when they put it on this morning. They have always known.